Ron Drew has made his candidacy for Huntingburg mayor official. More on that, plus a pair of local lawmakers have several ideas for pushing Indiana's economy forward, and Jessica Lindauer talks more about the Ferdinand 175th celebration in tonight's edition of Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. Well, it's now official. Ron Drew will be the Democratic candidate for Huntingburg mayor this fall. During a media gathering held this morning at the Veterans Memorial near the Huntingburg Event Center, the former Huntingburg police chief announced his intentions to run for mayor as the Democratic candidate. Drew was formally selected as a candidate during a caucus held last night by the DuBois County Democrats. County Democratic Party Chairman Gary X says Drew turned out to be the perfect candidate.
We're happy that Ron has decided to come out and volunteer, so to speak, to lead the city. Being a police chief, we all know that these people know our communities very well. They protect every inch of the community, they know every inch of the streets, and more importantly, they know the people that live here probably as well as anyone.
Meanwhile, Drew says his campaign strategy will begin to take shape over the coming months. However, he says city employees will be a major priority of his if he is elected.
I think they've been overlooked. I think there hasn't been the contact with them it should be. And when you don't have contact with your employees and you don't have contact with their bosses, their foremen, their superintendents, I think you're out of touch with what's going on in your city.
A native of Oakland City, Drew graduated from Oakland City University, and he originally came to Huntingburg in the fall of 1969 to work for DMI Table. Drew was drafted into the Army in 1971 and served until 1973. After an honorable discharge from the Army, Drew returned to DMI Table, where he worked until 1975 when he left for the police department. Drew served a total of 32 years with the Huntingburg Police Department across two different stints. The first one was as a patrolman from May of 1975 until June of 1978 when he left for another job. His second stint began in 1983 and lasted until he retired in late February of 2012. During that second stint, he served as a patrolman, dare officer, detective sergeant, lieutenant, and assistant chief prior to being named chief of police in 2004 when then Chief Ron Bowling retired. Officials with the Jasper Street Department have announced a round of major work that's set to take place starting next week. The department says starting on Monday, June 22nd, city street crews in conjunction with a private contractor will begin applying road preservation materials. Of course, all work is weather permitting. In all, parts of 25 city streets will be affected for 1 to 2 days, including overnight closures, which will allow preservation materials to cure. Daily work on any designated street will begin at around 7:45 in the morning. Streets will then be closed to traffic throughout that day and overnight before being reopened at around 7:30 the next morning. Some of the major streets to be affected include South Newton Street between 3rd and the Veterans Memorial Bridge, College Avenue from 3rd Avenue to the College Buildings, East 13th Street between Jackson and Vine Streets, East 15th Street between Dewey and Main Streets, and Clay Street between West 5th and West 6th Streets, among others. The Jasper Street Department says the work is expected to last through the end of this month and into July. Motorists are being asked to use an alternate route during this time for the safety of all involved. Residents will be notified of scheduled work on their street personally or by door hanger. Though local lawmakers think Indiana is doing well for the most part, they say more needs to be done for the state's economy. A report released last week by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis shows the Hoosier state's gross domestic product grew by just 0.4% last year, well below the national average of 2.2%. Now, this marks the third time in 4 years that Indiana's GDP grew by half a percentage point or less. The lone exception was 2013 when it grew by 2.2%. Now, the report also says Indiana's GDP last year was nearly $318 billion, 16th largest among states. However, Indiana's per capita GDP, which is based off of population size, came in 37th out of the 50 states. Now, the economy was the biggest topic that local legislators Mike Braun and Mark Messmer covered during yesterday's summer legislative luncheon held at VUJC. Braun says part of the problem is a lack of skilled workers to fill the available jobs. However, he says Indiana will also have to take a somewhat different approach to attracting businesses.
We need to be as selective and as encouraging as we can to bring in businesses that pay higher average wages. Manufacturers, if we can get them, but it won't be the ones that used to be here necessarily. We need to be broader in our point of view because Indiana is not going to necessarily build the things we did 20, 30, and 40 years ago.
Braun says though manufacturing has driven Indiana's economy for many years, that sector has been sluggish lately, thus leading to slower GDP growth. He points to agriculture and logistics as two major areas for the state to focus on. Meanwhile, Messmer says technology-based jobs can play a big role in the state's future. However, he says more work is needed on tax codes.
That's a high-tech area that has a high degree of potential for our state, and we're going to look at taking tax changes we made this year and other tax policies that we have that could be used to help bring in some of those 21st century high-tech jobs as well.
Of course, Messmer did author Senate Bill 359 this past session. The bill would have granted a state sales tax exemption for data warehouse equipment on investments of $100 million or more. The bill made it out of the Senate by a 41-9 vote, but stalled out in the House Ways and Means Committee. Jasper Library and Arts officials are now working to dissect the full results of a structural engineering study conducted on the former Hoosier desk building. The full report was delivered to Jasper Library Director Christine Golden and Jasper Arts officials yesterday. Now, Universal Design has been studying the Hoosier desk building over the last couple of months. Golden says now that the full report is in, all eyes will be on finding costs of renovation.
Now it's time for City Visions to sit down and really go to work and figure out, hey, this is how much this project would approximately cost. They're going to look into now basically looking at what it would cost to get the building ready. Not so much the interior part, because we're just not to a point where that could be developed in any kind of, quick speed. We want to get the cost on per square foot, an estimate of how much it would cost to rehabilitate the building.
Golden says Universal Design is currently putting together a cost estimate for the repairs. Golden says that report should be done sometime within the next couple of weeks, in time for a special meeting that is tentatively set for June 29th. Now, a copy of the report is available at Jasper City Hall for anyone who wants to view it. Golden says the full report will likely bring about changes to potential design plans for the former Hoosier desk site.
I think there will be now. I think they have to go back and look at a few areas, especially in the three-story building, to kind of look at maybe, if we have to rebuild part of it, maybe you look at doing it in a way that's, more effective for usage.
Now, the plans for the collaborative Jasper Cultural Campus were unveiled during a public meeting held last Monday night. The original design plans had the Jasper Library using 29,700 square feet of space, with the Jasper Arts Commission getting 24,500 square feet. Additionally, there would be space for a main entryway and events area, a restaurant and cafe, shared meeting rooms, classrooms, and a gift shop for the Arts Center, among others. A trio of local foundations have joined forces to increase the number of emergency medical technicians trained at Vincennes University's Jasper campus. The Du Bois County Community Foundation, the Memorial Hospital Foundation, and the VUJC Foundation have awarded grants to help students achieve their EMT certification. Now, the emergency medical services and fire departments across Du Bois and neighboring counties are experiencing a severe shortage of qualified EMTs and paramedics. The cost of the training that a candidate has to cover has been a significant deterrent to those who would be interested in enrolling, according to officials. These grants will significantly reduce the costs to individuals. The director of Du Bois County Emergency Medical Services, Susan Hinkey, says the program provides a win-win situation for everyone. She says the opportunity to train area firefighters to become certified emergency medical technicians fills class space and provides the much-needed workforce. Meanwhile, Du Bois County Community Foundation Program Director Nona Baker says the partnership of the three local foundations provided the opportunity to address an important need. The basic EMT class will be offered in the coming fall semester at VUJC, getting underway August 24th, and will meet 2 nights per week. Interested residents can contact the admissions office at VUJC by calling 482-3030. And finally tonight, the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor wants to help you save money on your electric bills this summer. The agency is providing several tips for helping to save electricity. These include unplugging chargers for cell phones, computers, TVs, and other devices when you're not using them, keeping blinds, shades, draperies, windows, and storm doors closed, and calling your utility or visiting their website for information on energy efficiency incentives. More information and tips are available by going online to in.gov/OUCC or by going to energysavers.gov. All right, coming up after the break, rain is not going away anytime soon, and more on the Ferdinand 175th celebration. We're back after this.